Once again, this is your host, Brother Talib, ad assistant to Brother Talik of Reality Temple Ministries on Earth, Operation Exodus, Mississippi. Uh, Once again, in this part two segment of commending the new nation of Islam, which is under the leadership of Marvin Muhammad, who's better known as the Son of Man, I just wanted to quickly add some other things about this subject topic in this video. Um, you know, Once again, as I was speaking basically a little in part one about how other, branches in the Nation of Islam criticized this brother, as well as other people outside the Nation of Islam and the conscious community that negatively also criticized this brother, but see, they do more criticizing of this brother than they talk about the positive works that he's doing. And see, this is what's wrong with black people, you know, uh, generally on a whole broad scale when it comes to, critiquing or criticizing each other, particularly in this country as a people, you know, because we're not willing to accept the fact that there are those who really want to see a better day for us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves here in America. And that's the bottom line, Marvin Muhammad is one which he has admitted that he is not trying to, seek celebrity fame or status like those such as Minister Louis Farrakhan. All he wants to do is carry out the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in terms of doing for self. And that definitely is something that I can't see nothing wrong with. Maybe even though his ideology may be, off key to, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But, in this video, that's not up for debate, nor is it up for commentary. Because like I said before in part one, that it doesn't really matter, it doesn't even matter the fact that it's still a religion organization, in which I've even voiced, my point, even in making a comment section under one of Marvin Muhammad's videos that I'm not religious, but that the fact I still respect what him and the new Nation of Islam is doing, which is definitely a big contrast, like I said earlier in part one, from what other groups in the Nation of Islam are doing when it comes to adhering to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And one of those main primary things is building and doing for self as a people, because as it stands right now, even with the billions of dollars, if not, or at least the millions of dollars that have went through the hands of Minister Louis Farrakhan, his organization still ain't got nothing to show for, even where their headquarters is located at in Chicago. I mean, and it definitely has not made any difference in the lives that's negatively impacted the black communities in Chicago, which we could see with the crime, the gang violence, the killings, and all that stuff, and Marvin Muhammad is doing something very contrasting to where him and his followers are building a new reality in the part of Mississippi where they're headquartered at as an organization, so that the reality for black people can be uh, different from what we see in Chicago, what we see in Detroit, what we see in New York City, what we see in Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York, what we see in Syracuse, New York, what we see in Newark, New Jersey, what we see in Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, what we see in Omaha, Nebraska, what we see in St. Louis and Kansas City and Los Angeles and Oakland, and Dallas and, New Orleans and other urban hot spots where a lot of dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America are located at, in this country. And what Marvin Muhammad is doing is definitely a setting example, which cannot be shown or proven to exist in any other group in the Nation of Islam, or even in the rest of the so-called black conscious community as of that matter. So, I mean, those of you who disagree, I mean, hey, you could try to prove me wrong on this, but the reality of the whole situation of what I'm speaking on stands to exceed even with you trying to prove me wrong, if that's what you even intend on doing. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to prove me wrong. I mean, unless you could come up with some miraculous, image of what, like I say, the Nation of Islam under the leaderships of Louis Farrakhan or Salis Muhammad or Eric Muhammad of Temple 15 in Atlanta has done, that comes near to the accomplishments that Marvin Muhammad, aka Son of Man of the Nation of Islam, is doing and towards making strides for the betterment of dark-skinned people who are descendants of slaves born in America. So like I said, I mean, all you got to do is show the proof in your works, not what you stand behind a rostrum and say, or what you quote from out of a book or out of a scripture. It's all about the works. I mean, and in this case, just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said or taught, one have to stand on truth. And in this instance, I'm definitely standing on the truth in this matter, because this is definitely something that needs to get out. And like I said, I went through the black conscious community, formerly being associated with the Nubian nation, so I know the difference. And when I see real progress and when I don't see real progress in terms of black consciousness, or even foremost black liberation, which is more important than anything else, that will liberate us from our nearly 500-year-old slave oppressors in this country. So like I said, at the end of the day, Marvin Muhammad is doing that work. He's doing the work. Like I said, you could go to his New Nation of Islam channel and it would show. He's building school, he's building businesses constantly. I mean, basic things to sustain self. you know, far as housing, clothing, and shelter. You know, I mean, in food, as well as that goes along with basic necessities, and that's all it takes to live. It don't really take all this rich lavishness to live. Far as just basic living conditions for the human go on this planet. And you know, I'm not saying it's anything wrong with having wealth, but it's how it's distributed. It's how it's spread it. And in the Nation of Islam, under Minister Louis Farrakhan and Salis Muhammad and other groups in the Nation of Islam, it's shown that that's not the case. It's just a bunch of lip service. And like I said, Marvin Muhammad, aka Son of Man, is doing what it takes to carry out the teachings of Elijah Muhammad in terms of building, and which means doing for self. So, I mean, you know, you could disagree with the brother and his ideology and the way he teaches or whatever, but he's doing the work. Him and his followers is doing the work. I mean, he's doing what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about, you know, far as building and being able to be independent of the white man, as far as doing for self and not have to worrying about, or getting to the point, brother, of not worrying about how, you know, we gonna be able to maintain a 9 to 5 working for some white man every day, or being able to just pay our bills, you know, which can cause a lot of stress, especially with the way, like I said in part one, because of how our people are living under the opposites of this individualistic mentality, which permeates with us as a group of people called dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. Or whether you refer to yourselves as Asiatics, African Americans, Bilalians, Hebrews, you know, Nubians, 5%ers, but we all are up under that same umbrella at the same time as one group of people, which I rather choose to call dark-skinned descendants, you know, of slaves born in America. But as I said before, you know, Marvin Muhammad is doing the work. And I have to commend him once again. I have to say I commend that brother in the new Nation of Islam for doing what the rest of those other groups in the Nation of Islam are not doing. And that's just a simple fact. You know, and what Louis Farrakhan is doing with his group, you know, especially by mixing the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with a racist name, with the teachings of a racist name, L. Ron Hubbard, is definitely not making things bad, but it's giving the Nation of Islam more of a black eye, as we could see, even which is being talked about constantly throughout social media, as well as outside of social media. So like I said, you know, until y'all can prove that y'all doing what this brother doing, y'all can't really talk down on this brother or judge him in such manner. Peace.